السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله على إحسانه وشكر له على توفيقه وامتنانه، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله تعظيما لشأنه، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله داعي إلى رضوانه وعلى آله وأصحابه وإخوانه. أما بعد، يقول ابن جزي الكلبي المفسر رحمه الله: قصدي المؤمل في جهري وإسراري، ومطلبي من إله الواحد الباري، شهادة في سبيل الله خالصة تمحو الذنوب وتنجيني من النار. إن المعاصي رجس لا يطهرها إلا الصوارم من أيمان الكفار. أخواني في الله, we're continuing our lecture series regarding a very difficult period for the Muslims, a period where Islam and the Muslims were almost erased from the face of the earth. This is the history of the Mongolians and the Muslims. In the previous lectures, we mentioned that the Muslim empire was the largest empire in history. That's the first point we wanted to make. This empire was stretching all the way from China in the east and out to the west, all the way to Spain and Portugal, the land of Andalus. This was the largest empire that had been seen at the time by the humankind. Then in the 7th century, a new empire appeared from nowhere. And this empire became the largest empire that we have seen to date, the largest continuous or contiguous empire to date. We have not seen an empire greater than this, and this is the empire of the Mongolians. We mentioned how they took over most of the eastern part of the Muslim states, the lands of Iran, Azerbaijan, all these lands that end with Stan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, all these lands they took over at the time of Genghis Khan and also the time of his son Oghetay Khan. Thereafter we mentioned that the Mongolians did not stop there. After they took over much of Europe, then came the leader who's called Moghay Khan. He sent his brother Hulagu Khan, who captured the city of Baghdad, the capital city of the Muslims. One of the greatest calamities to befall the Muslims, their capital city was captured. If you understand what a capital city is, it's not a small city like of one of our countries in Africa. This is like capturing, in our time, capturing Beijing, or capturing Washington, or capturing Moscow. This was the city of Baghdad, the capital city. For 500 years, the Muslims were looking at that as their capital city. It was captured by the Mongolians, it was destroyed, the Muslims were massacred in the year 656 of the Hijri calendar. Thereafter, the Mongolians, they captured most of the lands of Ashar. They captured the city of Halab, Aleppo, the city of Homs, the city of Hama, the city of Damascus. They captured most of Lebanon, they captured Palestine, and they were ready to enter Egypt. The next area they were supposed to enter is the land of Egypt. So the Muslim world was in a lot of problems at that time. When the Mongolians began their attacks, who were the rulers of the Muslim world in Egypt? Because Egypt is a very important area of the Muslims since it was conquered. Who conquered Egypt? Umar ibn Khattab Khalifa, but who was the general who conquered? Amr ibn al-As is the one who conquered Egypt. So Egypt is very important for the Muslims. So Egypt, during the time of Genghis Khan, when he began his massacre and his genocide, it was ruled by the Ayyubids. Thereafter, it was ruled by the Mamluks. So we have to look at the situation of Egypt to understand the Muslim world better. Because from this land of Egypt is where the victory of the Muslims is going to come from. We have a great leader from the leaders of the Muslims that no Muslim should be forgiven not knowing this name, the name of the great man Salah al-Ayyubi. This man was the leader of the Muslims from the year 569 of the Hijri calendar to the year 589 of the Hijri calendar. Every single Muslim should know this man, Salah al-Ayyubi. Why? Because in the year 583 of the Hijri calendar, in the month of Rabi' al-Thani, he defeated the Crusaders in the great Battle of Hattin. 3 months later in Rajab, he enters the city of Bayt al-Maqdis, the city of Al-Quds, al-Sharif. He enters the city of Jerusalem and he frees it from the Crusaders who had ruled it for almost 90 years. The Crusaders had massacred the population of Jerusalem or Al-Quds, And they had made even the mosque into a filthy area. They made it like a garbage area and a place to keep dirty animals and so on forth. So this man Salahuddin Ayyubi is the one who reconquered Jerusalem or Al-Quds from the Crusaders in the year 583 of the Hijri calendar. He died in the year 589 of the Hijri calendar. After him came his sons and his grandsons and his great-grandsons. And they ruled from the year 589 of the Hijri calendar to the year 648 of the Hijri calendar. Ikhwani fillah, they were not like the father. The father was a man who knew the importance of jihad fi sabilillah. He knew the importance of defending the lands of the Muslims. But these are his children. They wanted to live a life of splendor, of glamour, of wealth, to live the Instagram life, as you can say. They want to live a life of wealth and not do anything like their father did. So these sons, of course, they started interfighting amongst themselves. So the great kingdom or the great state that was left by Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, that was conquering Egypt, parts of Libya, parts of Jordan, the whole of Sham. Sham is 4 countries: Syria, Palestine, Jordan, Lebanon, the whole of Hijaz, Makkah, Medina, all these areas, Yemen, parts of Turkey, parts of northern Iraq were ruled by Salahuddin Ayyubi. Once he dies, his children, they're fighting for the city. Same family, so they start fighting. So the next, from the year 589 of the Hijri calendar, for the next 60 years or so, it's just interfighting. The most important leader that we can talk about at this time, and the best leader after Salahuddin, is a man called Al-Malik As-Salih Najmuddin Ayyubi. He started ruling the Muslims in this part, Egypt and Syria, from the year 637 of the Hijri calendar. So he becomes the leader of the Muslims in the year 637 of the Hijri calendar. This is the same time that Ogedai, the son of Genghis Khan, is ruling most of the world. He's the most powerful part. 4 years into his rule, in the year 649, in the year 641, 4 years after he starts his rule, the Ayyubids in Syria, they gang up against him to remove him from his throne in Egypt. So the Ayyubid, his own family members, they ally themselves with the Crusaders and they launch war against this man who's leading Egypt. He has no choice. He sees his army is very small, so he gets mercenaries, he gets outside help, an army of soldiers who are paid to fight for him. And these are from the Khwarizm Empire we spoke before. Remember we spoke that Genghis Khan attacked the Muslim world because of the actions of the Khwarizms, the Dawla al-Khwarizmiyah. So this army, most of the army had fled. Some of them reached Egypt, Syria and so on. So he brought this army, the soldiers, to fight on his behalf. So there was war between the Egyptians, led by Najmuddin Ayyubi. Am I talking too fast? You understand me? So there's war between the Ayyubids in Egypt, Najmuddin Ayyub, versus the Syrians. The Syrians are half Crusaders with them, so Syrians with the Crusaders are Christians, the Knight Templars and the Knight Hospitallers and so on and forth. And you have the Muslims led by Najmuddin. So there's war, they fight near the land of Gaza. Great battle. Alhamdulillah, Najmuddin Ayyub is able to be victorious, and with that he enters into Palestine. He captures most of Palestine, he captures all of Palestine, he captures most of Syria until he enters the city of Damascus. So Alhamdulillah, now Syria and Egypt are once again united. And this is very important for us as Muslims to know the importance of Syria and Egypt. The only way Salahuddin al-Ayyubi was able to conquer Bayt al-Maqdis from the Crusaders was when Syria and Egypt became one. I understand it. And that's the only way us as Muslims are going to, or that's one of the main factors that is going to lead for our victory against the Zionists who have taken over our land in Palestine. So Egypt has to come back. Egypt has to be part of this effort of the Muslims to set these lands free. So there's no free Palestine without the involvement of Egypt. There's no free Palestine without the involvement of Syria. These are the two main factors for us. Thank you. So Najmuddin, he conquers most of Syria. A short while later, the army, the mercenary army of the Khwarizm, they betray him. They get a better offer from one of the Ayyubids. So they betray him and they start fighting the leader who they were fighting under a few weeks or a few months before. So there's a great war and he loses a lot of his soldiers. And he feels Najmuddin al-Ayyubi that he needs to make a change. So he decides, I have a small army of slaves, Mamalik. I have to increase the numbers so that I can have people loyal to the country, loyal to our state, not mercenaries. We can't fight people who can't depend on people who fight for money. We want people who fight because of Allah, number one, and to protect the property and the lives of the Muslims. So we cannot depend on these mercenaries. So we need to increase the numbers of the Mamalik or the slaves that we have who will fight on our behalf. And this is something the Muslims have been doing for a long time, since the time of the Khalifa al-Ma'mun, the time of Abbasids, who ruled from the year 198 of the Hijri calendar to the year 218 of the Hijri calendar, and his brother al-Mu'tasim, who led the Muslims from the year 218 to the year 227. There was a great dependence on these slaves. These are people who are either captured in war, so they were slaves because of a war that happened between Muslims and the non-Muslims, or number two, there are people who are purchased from the slave markets, mostly in the lands behind, or they call Wara al-Nahr, the lands of Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and so on and so forth. So these slaves they were forming an important part of this army. So Najmuddin Ayyub, he decides to increase their numbers. What he does something different. He makes sure he gets the young ones. These are people of Turkish origin. So he gets young slaves. Number one, teach them the Arabic language. They have to know they're not Arabs. Whom Ajam, they're Ajam, they're people of Turkish origin. So teach them Arabic, how to read Arabic, how to write Arabic, how to speak Arabic. Number two, teach them the Quran. Number three, teach them al-fiqh al-Islami, al-aqidah, wa mabadi. Teach them the beginning of Islamic studies. You teach them all this. Then number four, teach them military studies. Teach them how to fight wrestling, how to swim, how to fight on horseback, archery, how to fight with swords, how to fight with spears, and so on and so forth. They have learned military skills well. Let us go to the next stage. Teach them administrative, how they can take up leadership roles, how they can rule over a small garrison of soldiers, how they can rule over a town, a village, a city, a country. Teaches them everything they require regarding al-qiyada, leadership. So these people are excellent. Amongst them, is the Mamluk al-Mamalik al-Bahriya. These are slaves who are living next to him, next to the river Nile. He builds his palace next to the river Nile, then he builds a small garrison or a small fortress or a small building for them, also to live next to him. These are known as the Mamluk al-Bahriya. This man is really beloved, not only by the people of Egypt, but also by these slaves. They love him a lot. Why? Because he does not treat them as a master treats a slave. He treats them as his own children, as his own sons. They call him Ustad. They call him Ustad. Even if you go to Egypt right now, they keep calling people Ustaz, 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 yeah? Like a teacher or a leader or so on and so forth. They call him Ustad. He sits with them, eats with them. When they have weddings, he attends their weddings. When they have funerals, you have to interact. If you're a leader and you want people to love you, interact with them. Be with them during moments of happiness. Be with them during moments of sadness. So they really love them. Amongst them, he chooses governors for areas of the Muslim world. Number two, the leader of the army, the head of the army, or the general in charge of the entire army is from the Mamalik. It's called Farasqur Ukhtai. Farasqur Ukhtai. Also, Ruknuddin Beirmars. These are very important names for you to memorize. So he prepares a great army of this Mamalik, and this country is strong once again. In the year 643, after he has defeated the Crusader army in Gaza, he goes back again and he reconquers the land of Bayt al-Maqdis. He reconquers Jerusalem once again. We mentioned in previous lessons that one of the Ayyubids, one of the grandchildren of Salah Ayyub, he did a betrayal for the Muslims in the year 626 of the Hijri calendar. What did he do? He gave Jerusalem for free to his friend from Sicily, from the Roman Empire. He gives it free. So this man, Najmuddin Ayyub, we as Muslims owe him also a great favor, for he is the one that returned Jerusalem or Al-Quds or Bayt al-Maqdis to the fold of the Muslim Empire. From that date on, the Crusaders were not able to enter it until November 1917, when the British Empire entered it during World War I. World War I was between 1914 to 1918. In 1917, they entered the land of Palestine and they handed over what does not belong to them to this Zionists, as you're all aware. So, in the year 647 of the Hijri calendar, after 10 years of rule, he becomes very sick. This man, this great leader, Najmuddin al-Ayyub. As he's on his deathbed, he's about to die, the Crusaders, they launch something they call in history the Seventh Crusade. King Louis IX had always wanted to destroy Muslims and Islam and to take back the holy lands from the Saracens. They call us the Saraqiyun, the Saracens, the people of stone. So he launches the Seventh Crusade. He tried to use the Mongolians to assist him, but he was not successful. So he launches his crusades to Egypt. He comes to the port city of Damietta in Egypt. It's called Damietta in Arabic. In English, they call it Damietta. So when he reaches that city, the people who are protecting that city, they believe that their leader Najmuddin al-Ayyubi has died. So they surrender the city by running away. All of them, they run away and leave the city with no one. All the inhabitants leave it empty. So the Crusaders, they enter the city of Damietta and they conquer it easily. When this news reaches Najmuddin, he's still on his deathbed, he's not yet died. He's very wary of this development. He knows that the Crusaders will not stop at the city of Damietta. They will come all the way to Cairo and conquer it. And this is a great danger for not only for the Muslims in Egypt, but the Muslim world as a whole. So what do? So he decides, talks to his generals, Farasqur and Ruknuddin Beirbaz, we have to beat these Crusaders in a town between Cairo and Damietta, the city of Mansoura. So him, and he's very sick, his legs have been amputated, he's in a very bad state. He leaves the city of Cairo with his army and they go to the city of Mansoura to meet the army of the Crusaders that is coming in the year 647, 648, thereabout. 647. So they meet Ikhwan Fillah in the city of Mansoura. The Crusaders enter the city of Mansoura, they find no one. And they get deluded, they think that they have captured a city easily from the Muslims. As they enter the city, suddenly Muslims appear from everywhere, from the left, from the rooftops, from underground, from everywhere. Muslims, where are these Muslims from? And the Muslims defeated them thoroughly in the Battle of Mansoura, and most of the Crusaders had to leave the city of Mansoura. During this battle of Hattin, this man Najmuddin Ayyub rahimahullah, he passes away. And the lady, his wife, very famous in Islamic history, she's called Shajarat al-Dhur, she hides that her husband has died. Are you together? This is just a summary of history. She hides that the husband has died. Why? Because the Crusaders are still there in the land. Number two, we don't have someone who will take over the rulership of Egypt after Najmuddin Ayyub. He doesn't have his son. His son is far away in a place called, in Turkey, in a place called Husn of Kaif. His son is called Turan Shah. So what do? So she says, let me hide this, speaks to the generals, prepare your battle plans. She sends a letter to Turan Shah, come immediately, your father has died, come take over rulership of the Muslim world, of this part of the Muslim world. So the son receives the letter, he goes into Syria first, claims his rule over there, then comes to Egypt. He reaches Egypt on the 17th of Dhul Qa'dah, the year 647 of the Hijri calendar. He organizes his affairs, declares that Najmuddin al-Ayyubi, the leader, has died, and I am the new leader of the Muslims. Thereafter, he decides to finish off the Crusader army with whatever power he can. So he declares war on them, declares jihad on them. So the Muslim army leaves the city of Mansoura to follow this remaining army of King Louis IX. And they meet in a place called Farasqur, and they defeat the Crusaders in a very thorough manner. They kill most of them and capture the remaining. Amongst the people who are captured, is the King Louis the Ninth, the King of France, the one who was sent by the Pope to conquer the Holy Lands as they claim. So he's captured, alhamdulillah. So the Muslims, they say to him, we're going to give you freedom with the following conditions. Condition number one, you have to free all Muslim prisoners that you have taken. Condition number two, you have to pay 800,000 gold coins. 800,000 gold coins. How much is that? A gold coin is about 4 grams. So 800,000 times 4 grams is about 3 million grams of gold. A gram of gold currently is about $130. So 3 million grams times 130, about $400 million he has to pay as his ransom. Are you together? Where is this money going to come from? Says, okay, you don't have the money, pay half. You can pay half later and promise never to fight the Muslims again and never set out to fight the Muslims, and you surrender back all the lands that you have taken from the Muslims, starting with the land of Damietta or Damietta. So the Europeans who are thinking that the Crusades is very successful, that this man is victorious, they are shaken when they hear that the Muslims, the bearded Muslims, have captured their king. And they set out to gather this ransom of 400,000 gold coins, half of the ransom. So they gather it in a state of very difficulty, and they pay to the Muslims, and he is given his freedom, and he goes to Akka, he goes to Palestine, one of the Crusader states that was still in Palestine. So the new leader of the Muslims in this part of the world is Turan Shah, the son of Najmuddin Ayyub. This man Turan Shah was not very intelligent politically. He wanted to start removing all the leaders that his father had kept in place. Number two, he starts accusing the wife of his father, Shajarudd-Dur, that she was hiding a lot of secrets, a lot of wealth, and she needed to surrender all that wealth. This lady is the one who brought you to rule in the first time. She's the one who made your rule possible. Right now, you're accusing her of stuff. You're threatening her. So the lady was in a very difficult situation. So she speaks to the leaders of the army, Farasqur and Roknuddin Birbas, and they all agree that this man, Turan Shah, is a danger to all of us. If we let him remain, he's going to either remove us from our posts, he's going to take our wealth from us, or he's going to kill us. We have to take action. We have to take preemptive action. We have to take the first step against this man. So on the 27th of Muharram, in the year 648 of the Hijri calendar, in a dinner, they attacked this man and assassinated him. The last Ayyubid leader, Turan Shah, the son of Najmuddin, he was assassinated on the 27th of Ramadan, the year 648 of the Hijri calendar. So who's the leader now? So they all agree that the new leader of the Muslims will be this woman, this intelligent, wise woman, who is called Shajarudd-Dur, who was also a freed slave. She was a slave before, either from Armenia or from Turkey. So she's the new leader of the Muslims and the beginning of a new dynasty known as the Mamluki period. If you go to Egypt or if you go to Syria, you will hardly find, after every 2, 3, 4 buildings, you'll find buildings built by these Mamluks. During this Mamluk period, are some of the greatest scholars that appeared in Islamic history. You have a scholar known as Sultan al-Ulama, the Sultan of the scholars, Al-Izz ibn Abd Salam. You have a scholar who wrote one of the most foremost books of Mustalah Hadith, it's called Ibn Salah. You have a scholar known Imam al-Nawawi, Imam Abu Zakaria, Yahya ibn Sharaf al-Nawawi, who passed away in the year 676 of the Hijri calendar. You have a man known as Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah al-Harrani, who passed away in the year 728 of the Hijri calendar. You have Ibn Qayyim, you have Ibn Kathir, Imam al-Dhahabi, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, Sakhawi, Suyuti. All these great scholars, they appeared during this period of this empire or this dynasty known as the Mamluks. The Mamluk in Arabic language means the slaves. So Muslims were led by people who were originally slaves. The Prophet ﷺ says, وَإِن تَأَمَّرَ عَلَيْكُمْ عَبْدٌ حَبَشِي, says that you have to be obedient and to listen to your rulers, even if you are led by a slave from the lands of Ethiopia. So this is a period of very important period of for us as Muslims, that these people, the Mamluk, they started leading from the year 648 of the Hijri calendar, and their first leader is this woman, Shajar al-Dur. This is what we shall look at in the forthcoming lecture. For these people, with them, it ended. The Mongolians were finished. There's no one called Mongolians. 90% of them became Muslims. Walillah alhamd. Something called the Crusaders against the Muslims, or calling it a crusade, it ended. They started giving other names like democracy or colonization or whatever they call it, freedom or Gulf War or something. They started giving other names, but they could not use that name called Crusades because every time the Mamluks will kept us talk to them. So with this lecture we have completed in summary what happened from the year 569 of the Hijri calendar when Salah al-Ayyubi became the leader of the Muslims until the end of the Ayyubids with Turan Shah in the year 648 of the Hijri calendar. We start a new period from the year 648 of the Hijri calendar until the great battle of Ain Jalut that will happen in the year 658 of the Hijri calendar. This is what we shall look at in the forthcoming lectures. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.